All right, everybody, thank you all so much for joining us for our Ask the Experts webinar today. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat by sharing your name, where you call home, as well as your student's major or something you're excited about with your student's journey at Temple. I just threw that in the chat, so feel free to reference that as well. But we're really excited to hear more about you all and see who's participating in this webinar with us. So feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. If you're just joining us now, welcome in. Thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate it. I know this is lunchtime for a lot of folks, so we hope you're also enjoying a meal while we're here. But thank you all so much for joining us. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. You can share your name, where you're joining us from, as well as your student's major or something you're excited about with your student's experience at Temple. So feel free to share that in the chat if you'd like. Once again, if you're just heading in, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We'll start the webinar in just a couple of minutes, but feel free to share more about yourself in the chat. You can share your name as well as where you're joining us from, and then either your student's major or something you're excited about with your Temple experience. Looks like we have somebody here from Boston, psychology major. That's fun. And then we have somebody from New Jersey in theater and fine arts. My brother is a film and media arts major, so it's a little different, but similar. We also have somebody from New York, a major in advertising. It's also fun. I love hearing what people are majoring in because there's so many cool majors out there. Ethiopia, we have somebody from Maryland. Again, if you're just joining us, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat by sharing your name, where you're coming in from, as well as your student's major. All right, looks like we have somebody from Austin, Texas. That's far away. Welcome in. Somebody from Philadelphia, somebody from Jersey. Thank you all for being here and sharing your information. Feel free to continue to introduce yourselves in the chat. I'm going to get started in just a couple minutes, but welcome in if you're just heading in right now. Feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat by sharing your name, where you're joining us from, as well as either your student's major or one thing you're really excited about with your student's Temple experience. We have somebody from DC, somebody joining Fox. I feel like we have a lot of Fox majors in the chat from what I'm seeing. Again, thank you all so much for sharing, and feel free to continue to do so. We're going to get started in just a minute here. We have somebody from New York, somebody from Dubai, somebody from Pennsylvania. Welcome in. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm going to get started in just a minute, but if you're just joining us, welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And feel free to continue to introduce yourselves in the chat. Looks like we have somebody from Pennsylvania, another person from Maryland. Lots of Maryland in here as well. All right, thank you all for being here. I'm going to get started, but feel free to continue to introduce yourselves in the chat. We love to hear where everyone's coming in from, and more information about your students as well. All right. Hello and welcome to the Parent and Family Orientation, Safety, Responsibility, and Student Support webinar. My name is Emily Brown. I'm a graduate intern for the Office of New Student and Family Programs here at Temple University. We're so excited that you decided to join us today, and we would love to know more about everyone who is with us, so please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. Include your name, where you're from, and if you want to share your student's major or something you're excited about, just so we know who's joining us today. We have enabled closed captions for this session. To view those captions, please click Captions and then select Show Captions. This session will be recorded and the slides, as well as the links, will be shared after today on the Parent and Family Orientation Hub. Today's panelists are representatives from Public Safety, Student Conduct and Community Standards, as well as the Title IX office. These offices directly support Temple University students by addressing their safety and security, conduct and support, ensuring that they have an understanding of Temple's resources that are offered throughout their academic journey. Following their presentations, we will have a Q&A session for the remainder of our time together. We're going to get started with our presentations and our Q&A in just a moment, but there's a couple announcements that I'd like to share first. One, you have likely noticed that your audio and video are muted. You can see and hear us, but we cannot see and hear you. Second, please submit any questions that you have throughout the presentations by using the Q&A feature. To do this, you're going to click the Q&A button to open the window. You're going to type your question into the text field. If you want your question to be anonymous, check the Send Anonymously checkbox, and then you're going to click Send. Your question will not be viewable to the rest of the participants until it has been answered. We will also share helpful links related to the questions that have been asked in the chat, so make sure to check the chat throughout the webinar. We'll do our very best to answer as many questions as we can today. If we're unable to answer all of the questions, we'll also provide contact information at the end for you to follow up with the appropriate campus partner for your specific question. If you have any questions about academic life, your student's transition to college, student health and well-being, student involvement, or student success advocacy and support, do not worry, we're going to provide their date sessions at the end of our webinar. If you have any questions about student finances, university housing and residence life, or meal plans, you can go to the Parent and Family Experience portal to see the webinar recording. All right, we're ready to head into our presentations, and we're going to start with public safety. All right, Terry, if you want to take it away.
Good morning, good afternoon. Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, my days are kind of hectic and crazy already, and it's only Monday morning. So how's everyone doing? Hope as well. Yeah, so in terms of public safety, obviously it's a very, very paramount matter here at Temple University. We take it very seriously in doing so. Currently speaking, I'll just give you a little background and demographics of our respective department. Public safety is currently made up of our communications center. It's actually made up of our full-fledged police department, which we respond and work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as well as our security staff and as well as our administrative staff. In total, we have approximately 77 sworn officers under public safety, which about 50 to 54 are currently assigned to patrol, and then our supervisory staff as well. We recently graduated 3 new patrol officers, and we currently have 4 patrol officers in the police academy right now. It's slated to graduate sometime in around like September or something like that. So they'll be joining us as well in an effort to, again, further our cause with public safety at the highest degree in that regard. Anything else you'd like me to add to that, Emily, in reference to my introduction, or?
You're all good. We're gonna, I think, move to the next slide so you can share a little bit more about what you all offer, but thank you.
Sure. So just, I'll try not to read verbatim, but I'll just kind of paraphrase. So the walk-in escort, these are some of the programs that we offer under public safety. What I will say in addition to like our walk-in escort and as well as flight shuttle is depending on the time and the location where you are in respect to the campus to where your destination may be, we do offer in the sense that you can actually call our communications center and our police officers are actually available to escort and assist you as well. Again, and I say that to say, so if you're maybe at Morgan, one of our Morgan Hall res, and you're looking to go to 1300 or Morgan, or maybe to go to J&H, and it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and you much rather have a police officer escort you than a walk-in security officer, you can certainly contact our communications number, which is 215-204-1234, and they can assist you with that. The TU Safe app, we encourage everyone to download our TU Safe app. All of these services in which I actually are listed here and or are available to you in terms of resources are actually on our TU Safe app. So it's a button away from you actually getting to that point. All right, next slide. This is our patrol district. Our patrol officers actually patrol in this respective district. In addition, I forgot to add that we have 6 full-time assigned Philadelphia Police Department officers who are assigned specifically to us. They don't report to their respective districts. They report to our actual headquarters for roll call. And so they help and assist us with our very broad, if you will, patrol district. As mentioned, our TU Safe app, as you can see, a button away or touch away from the different resources we offer, the emergency call, the panic button, of course, and as I mentioned, our flight and walk-in escort as well. Again, just this is on our team, a picture of our team members. We do have 2 canine officers, and we also have a comfort dog as well, who's just is in the process of getting certified, but when she does, hopefully sooner than later, we'll have that in our repertoire or report as well.
All right, thank you so much. We're gonna have some time to ask questions later.
Sure, no problem.
All right, next up is our Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards.
Everyone, my name is Amanda Jeanette. I am the Assistant Director of Investigations in the Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards at Temple. Really, some main things for you to know about the Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards is that we are really here to ensure the safety of both the university community as well as the larger Philadelphia community. And so, what we focus on is the University Conduct Code. Emily, if you want to go to the next slide. And one of the biggest questions we get asked is, is the student conduct code, is the conduct process a legal process? And so you will see at the bottom of the slide, our process is not a legal process. We do not deal with anything related to law. We are enforcing the university conduct code. So a couple of things about that conduct code are that all students are required to know and follow the code. The code represents the values and standards of Temple that all students are expected to meet and abide by. Another question we get asked frequently is by students particularly is, well, this situation happened when I was off campus. All of our policies apply both on and off campus. And we really like to emphasize to students that the reason why is because they are a Temple student, they are representing Temple no matter where they go. And so super important to keep that in mind. Our different roles in the student conduct office focus on, like I said, safety of the community, education. I really love to emphasize that our office is a retention office. We want your student to be able to obtain their degree from Temple. And so if they violate a policy, what we're really trying to do is create an educational moment for your student to learn from that decision and continue their time at Temple. And also kind of reinforce that accountability piece as well when it comes to their decision making. We are also a great resource to referral. A lot of times when students go through our office, they are in need of other resources on campus. And so we are knowledgeable about our campus partners and where might be best for us to recommend they connect with for whatever their need might be. In terms of the topics that we really focus on in our office, personal misconduct, which most frequently is alcohol, drug violations, physical altercations, damage to property, theft, etc. Academic dishonesty, so faculty are required to report any instances of academic dishonesty to our office. And from there, we look into those situations and respond as necessary. Investigations, which is my focus in our office. So investigations focus on things that maybe aren't as clear as to what occurred. And so when something isn't extremely clear as to what may or may not have happened, that's when we will initiate an investigation to gather additional information to see if there's anything that we may need to address or if there's nothing that we need to address. And then mediations as well. Like you can see above, with us dealing with physical altercations, UHRL students, and even students living off campus may be having some difficulty navigating that cohabitation piece. And so there may be times where that mediation is necessary and is the best route for resolving whatever the issue might be. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. So another big thing when we talk about safety of the Temple community and the larger Philadelphia community is our Good Neighbor Initiative. So Temple is, I'm from the Midwest, so a lot of the universities that I am familiar with are not uniquely situated amongst a community of natives who live there. And Temple is uniquely situated amongst, again, Philadelphia community members. And so how are we helping to educate our students on what it means to live and contribute not only to Temple, but also to the larger neighborhood that they're a part of? So some things that we try to implement is supporting the off-campus move out and in process, providing education on how to be a good neighbor. So you'll see in the Good Neighbor Initiative things about proper noise level, trash, things like that that are really important that can affect your neighbors. How you can help with that is talking to your students about what you love and don't love about members of your community. I think we've all experienced having fantastic neighbors and maybe some that were a little less pleasant to live near. And so reflecting on that and having those conversations with your student, also establishing expectations for their behavior when they visit or live off campus. So even if they're living in UHRL to start, they're probably also interacting with different off-campus experiences and locations. And so still establishing those expectations for their behavior off campus. Encouraging them to get involved in the community. There is so much that, yes, Temple has to offer, but Philadelphia itself also has to offer. And so it can be a really great experience for them during their time at university to get involved outside of Temple as well. And then helping your students register to vote. Super convenient in Philadelphia to be a part of that. And so that is something that they can also participate in that allows them to be involved in the community in another way as well.
Amanda, we're going to pass it over to Title IX.
Perfect. Good afternoon. My name is Andrea Cease, and I'm the Executive Director of the Ethics and Compliance Office at Temple. We are an office that responds to a variety of concerns that may come into our area. One of those being Title IX, which is also part of an umbrella of civil rights compliance. So our office will respond not only to Title IX, which we're going to talk a little bit more about, but also any type of concern that a student, faculty, or staff member might bring forward about discrimination, harassment. That includes anti-Semitism. It includes race, age, religion. So we are kind of all encompassing in this office and in our response. And so what I want to do though is spend a few minutes talking with you very specifically about Title IX and our resources around Title IX, many of which are also the same type of resources that we have moving through the other forms of discrimination that I spoke about a few minutes ago. Next slide. Thank you. So Title IX, many of the things that I just talked about, Title IX, and then any other type of discrimination and many types of harassment, including ADA, disability concerns, are regulated by the federal government. So we have a number of regulations that tell us as a university, what we need to be watching for and what we need to be doing, both in our proactive educational response, but also in our response if someone were to come forward and report a concern. So Title IX very specifically is about gender equity, and it is everything from responding to concerns that individuals might bring forward about sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking, to making sure that we have support for our students who are pregnant and parenting, to making sure that there's equity within our athletics programs and our athletics opportunities, also within our career training opportunities, within our student social kind of interactions and student organizations, making sure that there's equity kind of in those areas. So Title IX really encompasses every part of that learning environment. And we want to make sure that we are proactively getting out there, that we are working with our educational community, which we do in this office. We get out and we work with our athletics departments, we work with our academic departments, and making sure that we have kind of gender equity across the board. When there are a variety of reports or concerns that may come into us that fall under Title IX and our Title IX response and our Title IX policy. So that's our preventing and addressing sexual misconduct policy. These are just give you some examples of some of the things that may be reported to us or may come into us that we will then work with the individual who is filing the report to make sure that we are providing support to that individual, but also to make sure that we are offering the appropriate options for formal reporting, which may be coordinating with Temple Police may be coordinating really closely with our student conduct office on certain investigations. And so the biggest thing is we want to break down barriers. We want people to feel comfortable in coming forward, in talking with us, in telling us what their concerns are or what they may be experiencing so that we can really respond. One thing that we do have is we have the ability, anybody has the ability to report to our office confidentially. They can also report anonymously, which allows individuals to kind of first engage with us without us knowing who they are. Sometimes that is the most comfortable way to kind of start the conversation. We have a 24/7 reporting hotline that allows for back and forth communication, even if we do not know the individual that we are talking with. And we have just found through the years that that has really allowed people to, again, just kind of ask questions and get some preliminary information as they're kind of navigating some really difficult situations and understanding the options that may be available to them. Next slide. When an individual reports to us, or when we receive a report from others, so for instance, many people on campus are considered mandatory reporters in the Title IX process, which means if a student tells a faculty member something that may fall under Title IX, the faculty member is required to tell the Title IX office so that we can reach out and offer support and offer options. There are a few confidential reporting locations on campus, and those would be our Student Health Center, our Tuttleman Counseling Services, our wellness operation through our athletics department. Those are confidential. Students can report to those places. Those offices will not tell the Title IX office that that a student has reported something to them, and that's really kind of important in the various medical operations. But they will tell the student about us, about Title IX, so that a student knows about the supports that we can offer. When a student is referred to us, either because they've come into our office directly or because somebody has sent them information, we will reach out to the student with a pretty detailed email. That is our kind of initial outreach because we want the student to be able to read the information in a space that is comfortable to them and kind of in their own time. And that email is very detailed for a reason because we want to make sure that we're giving them links to supports. We want to make sure that they know exactly who we are, how to talk with us. We will offer them all kinds of meetings in that email. And then we'll do some follow-up as well if the student doesn't reach out to us so that we can just make sure that we are getting support to them. When they are engaging with our office, we are having frequent conversations with them about what they need in the moment. We are offering support in terms of classroom accommodations, academic accommodations. Maybe they need, they're concerned about interacting with an individual while we're investigating or looking into a process, and we're able to look into no communication or no contact orders. We are able to kind of follow up and get them connected with appropriate community resources in some cases if that is what they need. I always say that the most important part of our work is to be flexible and creative. We really need to sit and work with the person sitting in front of us to find out what they are struggling with when reporting an incident, and not only give them the options for reporting and move forward with kind of a formal process, but also that we're doing kind of the constant check-in to make sure that they're receiving the support all throughout that they need. Next slide. And so I am not Megan Patrick, but I work very closely with Megan Patrick. Megan is our Title IX coordinator, and she is right here in this office with me. We are located at 1810 Leocoris Walk. That is the way to find us. And again, you can find us by calling us, you can email us, you can use that anonymous reporting hotline, and you can come right into our office, and there's always someone here who's happy to help.
Well, thank you so much. All right, it's time for us to ask questions to the panelists. So please feel free to continue to post any questions that you might have in that Q&A feature, which is at the bottom of your screen. We're going to get started. The first question that I saw was for public safety, asking particularly about what the timeline is for the new VP of Public Safety.
I'm sorry, Emily, can you repeat that? I don't see the questions.
Yeah, no, you're good. They're asking what the timeline is for the new VP of Public Safety.
For the new VP?
Yes.
Oh, well, it's a national search that we're conducting, so we don't have a timeline at this point. It could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months to 9 months to a year. There's no definitive timeline that we have at this point. But we are opening up to a national search. Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, the next question we have is if our student is new to living in a city while at Temple, could you give us some tips for how to prepare them for city life to help keep them safe?
Sure. So the first tip I would suggest, and not just for new students, but students in general, is to maintain situational awareness, just to be aware of your surroundings, regardless of where you are, whether you're at one of the res halls, whether you're walking up and down the street on Broad or something like that, but just to maintain that situational awareness. And some of the components that we discuss and talk to students in parent orientations, and just in some of our different presentations from public safety platforms is that again when you have the earbuds and you're walking around and you're kind of like zoned out from the rest of the world. I know objectively that's what your goal is to do, to kind of zone out and just focus on what you're listening to. Now we encourage you strongly to take one out, look up every now and then, and not be focused on or hyper focused on your cell phone as you're traveling and walking by. And then also, and again, to come back to my original point we discussed, the TU Safe app, the buddy system, the walk-in escort, the shuttle system. As I mentioned, calling the communications police department if it's a time or you're in a location where it's a little bit further out than maybe a walk-in system would be needed for. Something more prudent, that's more practical would be to pick up the phone and our police officers will respond to help you in terms of like a transport. We call it a courtesy transport. Yes.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Okay, our next question is if my student is going through a student conduct process, how can I receive information about the case?
That is a great question. So a couple of different ways. The student has the ability in the TU portal to identify someone as FERPA waived. And so if they do so in that system, we are able to go and look. And if you were to call us with questions about your student's conduct case, we would see that you are FERPA waived and we would be able to walk you through any information. Another way is that anyone going through any process in our office has the right to have an advisor and or person of support present with them. And that could be literally anybody. That can be a family member, a friend, a professor. We have a list of Temple staff that volunteer to be advisors or persons of support for students. And so if your student wanted you to be their advisor, or person of support, that is another way that you could be actually present during any of the meetings that they have with our office. I do like to emphasize that because we are not a legal process, an advisor and or person of support cannot speak on the student's behalf because it is not as though it's legal representation and that person is representing the student, but they can speak to their student during any meetings and be that support system for them.
Our next question is my child is planning to have a bicycle with him to move around on campus. Are there any recommendations for him to be prepared and safe in that regard?
Yeah, so we would encourage him to register his bike with one of our police departments. We actually have two headquarters. Our main headquarters is 1801 North 11th, and then our 1101 West Montgomery is our administrative building. So that's where you will register. That's where our lost and found is. That's where our security registration booth is. You'll register your bike. And then we also have a free lock for e-bikes as well as for conventional bikes as well. Once you register your bike with TUPD, Temple University Police Department, we would give you that lock. And in addition to giving you the lock, we also instruct you on how to properly utilize that lock as well, because that's also important.
Thank you. All right, our next question is, does every conduct violation result in disciplinary action?
No. So it really depends on what the outcome of the conduct case is. So the conduct hearing process, or the conduct process in general, is to offer anyone involved an opportunity to share their perspective of the situation. And so that hearing is there to determine if a student is responsible or not responsible for the violation. So a misconception is that if a student gets a charge letter and is charged with a policy violation, that is them being found responsible for the charge. And that is not the case. The conduct hearing is the space to give the student an opportunity to respond to whatever the charge or charges might be, for them then to be found responsible or not responsible. If they're found not responsible, then that's it. There are no items to complete or anything like that. If they are found responsible for a policy violation, there's really a spectrum of things that they may be asked to complete. They may just get a written warning. They might be asked to complete a reflection paper or a reflective task, like creating a PowerPoint with a couple of slides on our drug and alcohol policies. They may be asked to attend a conflict training if it was a situation that involved conflict with another person. We do have things such as disciplinary probation, suspension, and expulsion, of course, but we have a lot of those reflective and learning moments as well that we really prefer to have students focus on, because again, we're a retention office. We don't want to remove anyone from their time at Temple.
Okay, our next question is, how will safety policies and resources be communicated to students who are on campus?
Yeah, so we have the TU alert that goes out in the event that a situation occurs or surfaces that we want you to, one, avoid that particular area, or if it's a notification of an incident or a crime that is occurring in progress. So that alert goes out to all TU students and the TU faculty administration as well. Yes.
Great. Our next question is, during what times is the escort/shuttle service available? And if they would prefer an officer, do they call the phone number, or is that available through the TU app as well?
So for the escort of a police officer, you would call the number. You would actually call the TU number, the 1234 number for an escort of a police officer. For the TU shuttle and for the walk-in escort, the walk-in escort, we have that goes up until, I believe, 3 o'clock in the morning, or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, where you can have that. You can actually call and have a security officer walk you to and from. And then anything, again, post those hours, you could call the 1234 number and have a police officer escort you to your respective location or destination.
Great, thank you so much. Our next question is, will parents be notified if their student violates the student code of conduct?
So for FERPA reasons, no, they will not, unless it is an alcohol or drug violation, where they are under the age of 21, then we do have a parent notification in that case. But again, for FERPA reasons, we are not able to reach out to the parent. It would be the student's responsibility to share that with their parent if they choose to do so. But if they choose to do so, and then they also make you FERPA waived, like I mentioned, in our system, you would be able to call us and we would be able to share and answer all of your questions about whatever the situation might be.
Our next question is, are there security guards on duty 24 hours at the residence halls?
Yes, so we partner with Allied Universal Security as well, in addition to our TU DPS security officers. So in our res halls, they're guarded and manned by Allied Security 24/7, in which you have to swipe in and get access into the building, all the res halls. Yes.
Thank you so much. Our next question is, could you please explain Temple's medical amnesty policy?
So, love the medical amnesty policy. It is really helpful when maybe your student has consumed alcohol or drugs under the age of 21, and they notice that their friend has also done so, but needs medical attention. But a lot of people are worried, well, if I get them help, am I going to get in trouble because I also have consumed? And so our medical amnesty policy is there to encourage students to not just be bystanders and to take action, knowing that they will not get in trouble for their consumption by helping their friend and getting them the emergency help that they may need.
Our next question is, could you please talk a little bit more about the shuttle system? Is it just within the campus perimeter, or does it go to the center of Philadelphia? Also, at what time do you recommend the escort system to be used mostly? Would it make more sense to request one late at night from the library or music studios back to the dorms?
Okay, so and to the first part of the question is regarding the shuttle, what was?
Yes, like where does it go? Does it go to the center of Philly? I can
No,
read off
so
the second one.
yeah, so the shuttle is just strictly for our main campus. It doesn't go off campus for the transports or escorts. However, again, just reverting back to my point regarding our police department, our police officers will in fact and do in fact have the jurisdiction and authority to transport you off campus. But as far as the shuttle, it's strictly on campus transportation. Escort.
Oh. And that second question was, at what time do you recommend the escort system to be used mostly? Would it make sense to request one late at night from the library or music studios back to the dorms?
Well, my suggestion would be to request an escort system anytime you feel the need. I wouldn't label or pinpoint a certain time. Certainly at a later time of the night might be a heightened reason for you to call for an escort, but the escort services are all working around the clock. And so again, even if it's, and then the reason why I say that, because obviously when in the winter and the fall months, it gets darker a little earlier than it is. And so I wouldn't suggest to say 5 o'clock, universally speaking, because 5 o'clock in December looks totally different than 5 o'clock in July. So again, if dust sets in, it's getting dark, or you just feel uncomfortable or uneasy about something, my suggestion would be to call an escort for the escort, walk-in escort.
Thank you. Our next question is, are there specific areas that students are asked to avoid? If a student lives outside of the patrol zone, are they still able to call public safety?
Absolutely. So yeah, so we cater and service our students irrespective where they live outside of patrol district. Like I said, we partner with Philadelphia PD. And so if it's a situation that occurs, particularly speaking off campus or outside of our patrol district as well, we can certainly support and assist PPD, but they will be the primary function for that.
Thank you. Our next question, from a safety perspective, what advice and resources are provided to students who are traveling off campus into the city and taking public transportation?
So again, what we do is we typically do, I can't even, countless number of presentations throughout the year, safety presentations to the various departments throughout TU, Temple University, as well as to our respective students. And the main frame that we're the driving force that we also encourage is, as I mentioned earlier, just situational awareness, just making sure you're aware of your surroundings, getting to know your area, getting to know where you live off campus, getting to know that respective jurisdiction, and also getting to know your transportation resources in terms of your stops that you're going to be dropped off on, where you're getting picked up from. And again, if all else fails, then we revert back to just dialing communications to have us to provide you with a courtesy transport. Ultimately, it's about being safe for us. Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. Just a reminder, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to throw them into that Q&A function. I'm going to keep asking, but if anybody has anything that hasn't been answered yet, feel free to throw that in there. All right, our next question is your student ID the same as the card that you use to swipe to get into a residence hall? And then do you have to swipe to get into all residence hall buildings on campus, including freshman dorms?
Is that
Oh, I was just going to say, I do know that you have to swipe to get into all residence halls. And I believe, Andrew and Terry, you can correct me if I'm wrong, classroom buildings as well. You obviously can enter the classroom buildings, but then there's usually a little security desk right by the door when you get in, and you just scan your card and then you can walk by. What was the other part of that question, Emily?
Um, I think you answered it. It was just about residence halls and buildings on campuses, including those freshman dorms that we have. And just to pop it in there, I know our only public buildings on campus are the student center as well as I think the bookstore is also public. So those are the only two that I know of. But so every other building, to clarify, means that you would have to tap in to get into those buildings. Okay. Our next question is, are there any opportunities for students to learn and grow from the conduct process?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that comes to mind that I did not mention earlier is community service is something that we also can recommend if a student is going through the conduct process. And so that might be something where if someone has damaged property and they are assigned community service, they may be going out in the community and choosing to do something where they are helping repair something in the community to kind of understand the impact of what happens when something is damaged and the work that may need to be done to repair or replace that. And then a couple of other things that I mentioned earlier in terms of educational things. Would be reflective tasks, whether that's creating a presentation or writing a reflective paper. Those are really good opportunities for a student to kind of do some critical thinking about the decisions that they may have made. But then also that PowerPoint piece is an opportunity for them to get more familiar with whatever the topic may be that their behavior was focused around. And I think, one of the things I always like to say is you learn the best when you're teaching others. And so, regardless of whether they actually, present that PowerPoint to anyone, they are creating an opportunity to learn more about the topic surrounding their behavior that could be teachable to other people in a similar situation.
Our next question is, when someone uses the blue lights on campus, who does that call?
So that blue light call, that's a great question. The blue light is GPS facilitated as well. So once that call goes, it goes directly to our central communications, our communication center. And then after they'll facilitate that call and then they'll direct and send the right people and the right resources to assist who is ever in need from that actual blue light call. Great question.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is for Title IX. How do you help students who may be nervous about reaching out about those concerns?
Sure. That is something that we constantly talk about in our office, just in how we strategize working with students, because we know that can be the biggest barrier. And so I think one of our greatest strengths is the fact that any one of us that is ready to sit down with a student when they walk in is one, being present and being ready in the moment. So we don't want someone to stop into our office and not have someone here that's able to talk with them. So even if Megan's not here, there's somebody else who's going to be able to sit down and have that immediate conversation. The other thing is that we are really clear with the student from the start that they're kind of driving what happens next. So we want to make sure that they know that they can ask us questions, that we're going to give them options, that we're going to really talk things through with them to give them the space to feel comfortable kind of either going to the next step or accessing the appropriate resources that they need to access. We want to give back the power to the individual that feels that, maybe some of their power has been taken away. So the other thing that I always say when I'm working with a student is there's no time limit here. We can keep talking for days, for a couple weeks, for sometimes I have a student that will step away and then come back 3 months later and say, okay, now I'm ready to kind of talk through more or ready to kind of do more with this. And we will do that. I will say the one caveat is, and we were also clear with the student, is that if something is being reported that presents maybe a danger to the campus community, the kind of the larger campus community, or an ongoing threat, we will need to assess that and we will need to take quicker action. If we do need to do that, we will do everything we can to keep the student kind of out of it if they are still not comfortable or not in the space where they want to actively participate. But we are also clear in that respect too, because obviously if a real concern, if a concern comes forward that may present an ongoing safety situation, we will need to respond.
This question is for all of you. How can students get involved in creating a safer campus community? So anybody who feels called to answer.
I think one of the biggest ones is, and we already talked about this a little bit, is not, the bystander effect is real. When you see something going on, and a lot of people typically think, oh, somebody else will report that or get help for that person, etc. And so I think empowering your students to feel comfortable being that person, to make that call to TUPD, press that blue light, whatever that might be, so that we kind of dissipate the bystander effect as best as we can, so that we are getting students the help and safety that they need.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that I would add to that is that there are a number of, encourage your students to get involved with the number of educational kind of programs that go on throughout the year, because it just allows everyone to learn more about all of these areas, and to really, which can really then lead to them helping themselves, or also that bystander and intervention piece of helping others. So certainly through our Wellness Resource Center, our Ideal, student affairs, in the residence halls and residential programming and academic programs that are taking place throughout all the colleges. There are a lot of opportunities to really engage in conversations around these areas, and really kind of learn more and get involved.
And I would just add also, TUPD has a student safety advisory committee as well, where we have students on our advisory. We meet, I believe, once a month, and we sit down and we go over some of the concerns that they're seeing on the front lines as students, some of the things that we're doing to advance some of our safety measures and strategies incorporate into that, those meetings. And we also discuss community engagement outreach events that we're doing that also further the cause in terms of how to be safe and how to make sure you maintain that as well. So another committee and/or, like Andrew mentioned, another resource to take advantage of to basically get yourself some more exposure to how to be safe.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for your responses. Okay, our next question is, does Temple's Police Department work closely with the Philadelphia Police Department? And if a student calls 911, does that go to Temple's police or Philadelphia's police?
So yes, we work very closely with Philadelphia Police Department. As I mentioned earlier in my introduction, we have 6 full-time Philadelphia Police Department officers assigned. They're bike patrol, they're in a bike patrol unit. They're assigned to Temple University Police Department. In addition, we're housed in the 22nd district of the Philadelphia Police Department. So we work very, very closely with them. We have great partners with them, very strong strategic alignments with them in terms of response, assisting, going back and forth with that as well. Yes. Oh, and if you call, yeah, your number likely will go, depending if you call the 1234 number, 911 number, depending on where you are, it would actually be dispatched to Temple University's Communication Center. If you're off campus, again, depending on where you are in respect to off campus, if you're outside of the 22nd district, it may go to PPD, and then PPD dispatch will forward the call to Temple University Communication Center.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is, will conduct lessons be catered to students who have learning disabilities?
Yes. So we always let students know at any point in the process if there is an accommodation that they have registered with DRS that they would like to have implemented in their process with us. We are happy to make that happen. There are several different ways that we can help with those accommodations, whether it be giving them extra time to look through documents, or if they need a version of a document to be able to, for software to be able to read it to them. That's another way that we can help make that document readable so that they can put it into their software. software. So there are several different ways that we are able to implement any accommodations that they may have registered by DRS. The biggest thing is that they have to invoke those accommodations with our office. So that goes for really, classroom environments, any other departments or offices they may interact with. DRS is the one who is aware of their accommodations. For FERPA reasons, other people wouldn't know that unless they disclose that and invoke those accommodations. So it is the student's responsibility to make those known to us. And then from there, we can connect with DRS and get all of that set up and taken care of to support them. But it is their responsibility to make that known to the staff member or faculty member that they may be needing those accommodations from.
Next, we have a Title IX question. Does Title IX apply to incidents that happen off campus?
That's a great question. So there is by the federal regulation, there is a specific jurisdiction when it comes to Title IX matters through the preventing and addressing sexual misconduct policy through the Title IX process. And those are incidents that happen on campus or off campus at Temple sponsored events, meaning if there was an academic symposium that maybe we were sponsoring downtown in a hotel, and something were to happen there, that would fall under Title IX jurisdiction. If something happens at an off-campus location that is registered to a student organization, Greek Life or other type of student organization, those would fall under the jurisdiction of Title IX for the process piece. Everything falls under the jurisdiction of Title IX for the supportive measures, meaning if a student comes in and reports something to us, whether it has happened a block off campus in one of our residence halls, or at home on break, a student may experience something at home on break, and they can come into us and we will offer support. We can also offer kind of the resource piece too of getting students connected with their local law enforcement if they haven't done that yet and they need to do that. So Title IX jurisdiction is, in terms of that supportive measures and resource piece, on campus and off. Our Title IX process only applies to on campus or at Temple sponsored events. But even in those cases, it doesn't mean the university can't address a behavioral concern that's reported. It means it would have to be dismissed out of the Title IX process for the kind of the investigation adjudication piece, but we would get that over to student conduct, and we work very closely with student conduct so that the behavior piece can still be addressed.
Our next question is approximately how many Temple University police officers are on duty during a typical shift? And does that number change during time of day, weekends, or major campus events?
We have approximately 5 to 6 police officers on every shift that we have, the 3 shifts that we have. And then typically there's a sergeant and a lieutenant. So there's a supervisory staff, a dual of a supervisory staff as well on each shift. And it doesn't fluctuate in terms of the actual assigned shifts, but it does fluctuate in terms of certain things like commencement, move-in week, move-out week. We have certain details that we're doing if there's some type of a protest or some type of heightened event that we're made aware of prior to that, then we will in fact increase patrol in that area. Or for example, if there's a heightened level of incidents that are occurring, whether it's like e-bike thefts and vandalism, graffiti, or something along those lines, that's reported to us, then we'll increase patrol by adding an extra detail to that. But typically between 5 and 6 police officers on the shift, supplemented by the 6 PPD patrol bike officers as well.
Wonderful. And then I have a follow-up to that. Just in general, is it safe for students to walk off campus for groceries and other trips that they might take off campus?
Again, that is a good question. A little broad. I believe it is in fact safe to walk off campus and to get, but just making sure you're aware of your surroundings. And my suggestion, of course, would be to lean heavily on our TU Safe app. If in fact you needed to do so for whatever reasons, I would certainly encourage you to call for walk-in escort or potentially call for assistance for transport of TUPD.
I'll offer a personal anecdote. I'm a grad student. I haven't had any trouble walking around or close by campus. And we do have so many resources like we've been hearing about that are in place for students who might not feel safe. So just making sure that you're using those resources. But I've walked about a mile off campus to go home and back sometimes, and I really haven't had any issues, just to hopefully put some people at ease. But thank you so much for your response. Next, how are academic integrity cases handled?
So, academic integrity cases are handled a couple of different ways. It kind of depends on the avenue that they go through. So, they're all reported to our office by faculty. The faculty provide a recommendation for uh, how we respond. So, sometimes that recommendation is just an F on a 0 on the assignment itself. Sometimes the allegation may be very egregious, and the faculty member may recommend a 0 in the class. And so the student kind of has the ability to either accept that recommendation or go to a conduct board hearing and have a panel of faculty and staff kind of review all the information, hear the student's perspective of what did or didn't happen. And in that case, they would have an opportunity to be found responsible or not responsible for the violation. So there are kind of a couple of different avenues for how that process can go.
Next question, are there fire or other safety drills done throughout the year throughout campus?
Yes, they are. We do in fact do fire drills, safety awareness drills, and educational programs throughout the campus throughout the year. Yeah, and they're not random; they're planned on our end, but obviously we do like to keep it somewhat of a surprise so that we can have a better response to that and a bit more of a practical response to those. Yes.
Thank you. All right. Our final question for you all today, I know we're running lower on time, for all of you, is what is one piece of advice for Temple parents or students as they begin their Temple journeys related to your department or just in general?
I would say I think there can sometimes be a misconception or a myth that our three different departments are punitive, or sometimes we'll hear like the principal's office, etc. We really are all here to ensure your students' safety, and do as much as we can to make sure that they have the experience that they are wanting to have at Temple, and to get them to that point of getting their degree. So we really are here for that. Sometimes it can be hard to see that, depending on what they might be interacting with our office for. But that really is our main goal in each of our departments.
Yeah, and I guess my piece of advice, I have like a few things floating through my head, is enjoy. My first is enjoy this journey, this part of the journey, and this experience. Besides being an administrator here at Temple, I also have a child in college, and it's so amazing to watch them take this next step and to really kind of take in their independence. At the same time, though, I think the piece I'll leave you with is encourage them to ask questions, to go and get help if they need it. And by help, I mean we will encounter students who say, well, I had these kind of extra accommodations or resources in high school, but I think I'm just going to try it on my own now in college. And that's fine. Give them the space to try it on their own. But also, if it gets to a point where it doesn't seem to be working, it's always okay to ask for help. And this is the biggest point. This is their chance. I always say it's their biggest time in life to really kind of test the waters and put themselves out there, but in a safe way, because they also still they have a lot of support. We are always here to help, and we have a lot of support. So I think that's the best piece of advice I can give.
And I would sort of echo both of those sentiments. I would just say, again, embrace this journey that you're on. It's a wonderful, vibrant campus. I would say, in addition to that, to get to know these various numbers of resources that we have, at your disposal, at your fingertip, that you have for you here. We're here to help. We're here to keep you safe. And then also, and lastly, I would say get to know the campus. Whether it's walking around or during your lunch break or during breaks, whether it's having a walking escort showing you what buildings are what buildings and what res halls or res halls, just to get to know the campus, to familiarize yourself, and to ultimately make this place your home for your duration here as a college student.
Well, thank you all so much. We're gonna throw the slides back up. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have with everyone today, but we really appreciate your time, both to the panelists and those of you who are on the webinar right now. So again, thank you all so much for joining us. You will see their contact information on the screen. They're more than willing to answer any follow-up questions you might have, so feel free to reach out to either email or phone number, whatever you feel comfortable with. In addition, we'll also post the recording for this webinar along with the slide deck and helpful links in the Orientation Hub in the Parent and Family Experience portal shortly for your reference. And of course, our virtual parent and family orientation is continuing. As you can see on the right-hand side, those are our upcoming panels, so we'll have more campus partners joining us for those as well. So please visit the Hub and register for any of the upcoming webinars and to see recordings of this webinar and previous webinars that we've completed this summer. Lastly, we will also, thank you again to our panelists for today for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of your day. We look forward to hopefully seeing you at another one of our upcoming webinars. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.